Welcome, everyone. I am Sprawl, and this is the RGN Alpha Draft pre-show. The general goal of the show is to just give you an idea of what's to come in our matches tonight and give you some analysis on each match head-to-head. So with me, as always, is the one and only Laser Jesus, and let's get right into things. Our first match of the evening is going to be Complexity versus Coast. Some Group A action. What do you think here, Laser?
Well, the odds on Lounge are sitting about 80-20. Last time I looked, it was more about 70-30. And I think a lot of that comes from Complexity just beating Coast 2-0 pretty handily recently, but I still give Coast a little more of a chance than Lounge would provide. And I think that's why a lot of these players from Coast are so cheap in comparison with Complexity players who are way above both the Fallen eSports players, even though they played twice. Now, a lot of how this day is going to boil down to is how much you value Follow eSports having two matches, as they're the only team that's going to play twice tonight. So back to this match, Complexity versus Coast. Are the Complexity players worth their weight right now? I mean, Semphis at 9,400, the lowest player being Valens at 7,500. I don't know. I highly recommend doing a couple of different teams today and then kind of going off of the different outcomes. You pick a Complexity team, you pick a Follow eSports team. But my picks for Complexity, Roka, as usual, he's below Semphis in terms of salary, but Roka, even if you're not going to pick a lot of Complexity players, I think Roka is your safest pick. Semphis, consistent when, especially consistent against teams that they beat. But if you're going on an alternate version of reality and you think Coast is going to win it today, then Invert, highly valued pick. He is the most expensive one on Coast at 7,500. But the guy, when he's on, he goes off harder than Kusta does for enemy. So that's my go-to guy. And Stanislaw is very cheap down there. The cheapest guy on Coast at 6,000. I was talking to the manager of Coast, and he thinks Stan should be way higher up there. So those are a couple of my two picks. The rest of the players on each team, easily, they could go off as well. But Complexity versus Coast, it just boils down to if you think Follow eSports is gonna win, then you're probably picking Coast players, given that they're cheaper.
And again, I think that's going to be a very interesting match. In my eyes, probably the most interesting out of the night. But we do have two more coming up after that. Follow eSports versus VVV. This is actually the first match that we're seeing in Group C played out.
Yeah, this is going to be... it just comes down to Follow eSports. How well are they going to play tonight? They're favored over VVV, and they are unfavored versus Method. So if you think Follow eSports is going to have a solid performance tonight, they are definitely your guys to go with. But if they lose both matches to VVV and Method, well, there's the other side, and why I always pick, or I always make numerous teams to try to maximize my profit potential. So for VVV, it's the guy I'd like to think, if they're going to beat Follow eSports, that a guy that I need to go off would be Double. When he busts out his AWP, if they're rolling, I think that could be a problem for Follow eSports. But again, on the other side, Follow eSports is playing twice tonight. So for me, any other players really are standouts or have the potential to stand out. Ocean, he's the lowest in terms of salary. I think he's a great pick when he's on. He's really on. At the top being Hades. It's like Follow eSports as a team. It's really hard to predict who is going to go off. And their salaries are relatively similar, about 1,500 disparity between the top and the bottom. So any of those guys' picks are pretty solid, but again, it just boils down to, is Follow eSports going to be on tonight?
And again, obviously, we just touched on Follow eSports against VVV. They do have two matches tonight, so Follow eSports versus Method as well. So you kind of already touched on the fact that if you're into Follow eSports, again, that might not be a bad idea because they are playing twice. But a little bit of highlights here, or analysis for Follow eSports versus Method.
Yeah, Method about a little less favored than Complexity over Coast. I think it's sitting around like 75-25 right now. I think that's about right. So for Method, you got Streber way at the bottom, or excuse me, LD and Streber way at the bottom. And Method, they're another team I think anybody can really snap off from them. I think it was Silent at the Winoutland who just had a crazy performance, and Toy recently getting picked up as a permanent member of Method. Maybe he's gonna, try to prove his worth even more tonight, given that he is the more recent addition. But for Method picks, anybody is really good. It's similar to Follow eSports in my opinion. For my team specifically, I went with Justin as well as Streber, but do what you will with your picks. It's just those two teams, both Method and Follow. It's hard for me to really pick a standout. But again, I highly recommend picking numerous teams tonight, given that there's a couple situations that are probably going to happen. Complexity is probably going to beat Coast, and Follow Esports likely going to have at least one match where they have a good performance, either versus VVV or Method. So what I recommend is picking a Complexity in Follow Esports mixed bag team, and then if you're looking to spend a little more and maximize your potential, then you create alternate teams where, say, Coast is going to win, and then you pick a Follow Esports team, or you think Follow Esports is going to have a bad match, and you pick only players that are coming from only one match teams. So there's a couple different options, and I highly recommend picking numerous teams to maximize your chances.
There you go, guys. Again, if you are unaware of how to do that, if you create one lineup, you literally just get another option to create a new team, so you can have another lineup for the free one. It costs nothing to have multiple teams, so we highly would recommend that. Again, that is going to be it for our RGN Alpha Draft pre-show here. Hope you guys enjoyed and gained some valuable insight. Again, you can catch these matches we just overviewed, starting with Complexity versus Coast at 9 p.m. EST. So make sure you guys head on over to alphadraft.com and create your roster, but we will see you guys all very, very soon.